return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you were born and reborn and reborn. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
At this hour, Israel stands before its God. In our prayers, in our hope, we are one with all Jews on earth. This people you have formed still lives to tell your praise. Today we say to our children, see this sublime design which was revealed at the very beginning and which from age to age is realized. See this people, few in number, to the world unknown, declaring at the beginning of its history what will be its history. See this people choose the mission which chooses it and the way it has foretold. See this people. This people you have formed still lives to tell your praise. To our friends we say, see this people exiled twice and twice surviving, teaching in its first exile the unity of God, and in its second, the oneness of humankind. Know this people. This people, Israel, lives to tell God's praise, men's hopes, women's dreams. Congregation Israel, can you not see an eternal presence abiding in your people? Can you not see in your past a story told for all peoples whose shining conclusion has yet to unfold? This people lives when it lives God's praise. At this hour, Israel stands before its God. In our prayers, in our hope, we are one with all Jews on earth. We look into each other's faces. We know who we are. We look up to our God and we know eternity is in us. We look up into each other's faces and we know who we are. We look up to our God, and we know eternity is in us. We continue on page 398 in our prayer books as we rise together for the Avot V'Imahot.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehillatech. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah v'Elohei Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Geula Lifnei Bneihem Lema'an Shemo B'Yahava זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע. מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
We continue responsively on page 403. Let now an infinite presence teach us a gentleness that transcends force and melts our hardness of heart. Then shall we be sensitive to the needs of our neighbors and responsive to their pleas. All who struggle vainly for attention, and those who shrink from another's touch, all whose faces we forget from one encounter to the next, and those who never seem to find a resting place in the family of the secure, all whose ambition exceeds their skill, and those whose early promise has dimmed to small achievement, all whose minds are clouded or weak, and those who are burdened with broken bodies, all who wait in pain only for death, and those who wait for news that never comes, those who are unloved with none to love, all widows and widowers, abandoned husbands and wives, neglected children, all who are deprived by the callousness of others, and all who have been driven from their homes by wars they never made. To all these, O God, may we respond with open hearts. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, we have sinned against life by failing to work for peace. We have sinned against life by keeping silence in the face of injustice. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, we have sinned against life by ignoring those who suffer in distant lands.
We have sinned against life by forgetting the poor in our own midst.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, we have failed to respect those made in the image of God. We have withheld
our love for those who depend on us.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, we have engaged in gossip and in repeated slander.
We have distorted the truth for our own advantage.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, we have conformed to fashion and not to conscience.
We have indulged in despair and trafficked with cynics.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, we have given meager support to our houses of study.
We have neglected our heritage of learning.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, we have sinned against ourselves and paid scant heed to the life of the Spirit. We have sinned against ourselves
and have not risen to fulfill the best that is in us.
Ve'al kulam Eloha slichot, salach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these sins, O God of mercy, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
Ve'al kulam Eloha slichot, salach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu, ve'al kulam Eloha לנו כפלנו.
And so we turn to our prayer books in one of these pages here, 450, as we prepare for the reading of Torah in our afternoon service. Please rise.
אין כמוך אלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל העולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד אחד אלוהינו גדול אדוננו קדוש ונורא שמו על שלושה דברים על שלושה דברים על שלושה דברים העולם עומד.
So the tradition is at Temple Shir Shalom, we read from the 4 Torah for the Holiness Code. This Torah that we've learned, as I shared last night, a Hungarian Torah, a Rebbe's Torah, over 150 years old, and of course part of our heritage as well. It's in a Sephardic case, even though it's not a Sephardic Torah, but it's a teeny Torah in a sense, and a rabbi could hold it in his pocket. It wouldn't be on these silver scroll, these silver 8-seam, or in a case like this. So it would be something very compact. So it makes it really small. But of course, the story, the words are the same, and so the traditional holiness code, the laws of how we should live our life, not about how spiritual we are, how much we pray, but all about actions and what bring us to holiness is what we find here. Chapter 19 from the book of Leviticus can be found in our prayer books in the Torah section on page 452. We join with the cantor for the blessing for Torah.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael va'amarta Elohim kedoshim tihiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. And God spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the congregation of Israel and say to them, kedoshim tihiyu, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Ish imova aviv tira'u, your mother and your father you shall revere, respect. Ve'et shabtotai tishmeru, and observe all of my Shabbats. Ani Adonai Elohechem, I am the Lord your God. And then we jump down to verse 9. It says, Uvkutzrechem eketzir artzachem lo techalet, ba'at tzadcha litzor v'leket ketzircha lo telaket, v'charmacha lo te'elel, uferet karmacha lo telaket. That when you harvest your field, that you should leave the corners of your field unharvested, and so that the widow, the orphan, the stranger, those in need could come and take what they need. That also with your vineyards, you shouldn't pick them bare. and you leave those remnants for the poor, ani v'ager, for the stranger, ta'azov otam, that dwells among you, ani Adonai Elohechem. Lo tignovu v'lo techachasho v'lo tishakru ish ba'amito, that you shouldn't steal and you treat people with respect, that each have a sense of equality with them. And what's amazing, of course, these laws are all, again, about our actions. And it ends with the words, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And then again, ani Adonai Elohechem, that I am the Lord your God. And that connection and that reminder of all of us having holiness within us, all of us having that goodness as a part of our lives. In the midst of Yom Kippur, when we are repentant and reminding ourselves of our sins, our mistakes, but that command to say, even then, we're still special, we are still holy.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And now we turn to our traditional reading of Haftarah, the story of Jonah. And so we begin with the blessings for Haftarah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'inviei ha'emet v'tzedek.
The word of the Eternal came to Jonah, son of Amittai.
Go at once to Nineveh, that great city, and proclaim judgment upon it, for their wickedness has come before me.
Jonah started out, however, to flee to Tarshish from the service of the Eternal. He went down to Jaffa and found a ship going to Tarshish. He paid the fare and went aboard to sail with the others to Tarshish, away from the service of the Lord. But the Eternal cast a mighty wind upon the sea, and such a tempest came upon the sea that the ship seemed likely to break up. In their fright, the sailors cried out each to his own god, and they flung the cargo overboard to make the ship lighter. Meanwhile, Jonah had gone into the hold of the vessel, where he lay down and fell asleep. The captain went over to him and cried out,
How can you be sleeping so soundly? Up! Call upon your God. Perhaps the God will be kind to us and we won't perish.
The men said to one another,
Let us cast lots and find out on whose account this disaster has come upon us.
So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. They said to him,
Tell us, you who have brought this disaster upon us, what is your business? Where do you come from? What is your country, and what people are you from? I am a Hebrew,
he replied.
I worship the Eternal, the God of heaven, who made both sea and dry land.
The men were greatly terrified, and they asked him,
What have you done?
And when the men learned that he was fleeing from the service of the Eternal, for so he told them, they said to him,
What must we do to you to make the sea calm around us?
For the sea was growing more and more stormy. He answered,
Heave me overboard. The surrounding sea will then quiet down, for I know this terrible storm came upon you on my account.
Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to regain the shore, but they could not, for the sea was growing more and more stormy around them. Before throwing him overboard, they cried out to the Eternal,
Please, do not let us perish on account of this man. Do not compel us to kill an innocent person, for you, O Eternal, by your will, have brought this about.
And they heaved Jonah overboard, and the sea stopped raging. Then the men were greatly in awe of the Eternal. They offered a sacrifice to the Eternal, and they made vows. Then the Eternal ordained a huge fish swallow Jonah. And Jonah remained in the fish's belly 3 days and 3 nights. Then the Eternal ordered the fish to spew Jonah out upon dry land. The word of the Eternal came to Jonah a second time.
Go at once to Nineveh, that great city, and proclaim to it what I tell you.
Jonah went at once to Nineveh in accordance with the word of the Eternal. Nineveh was an enormously large city, even on a divine scale, a 3 days' walk across. Jonah started out and made his way into the city, the distance of 1 day's walk, and proclaimed,
40 days more, and Nineveh shall be overthrown.
Then the people of Nineveh believed God. They proclaimed a fast, and all alike, great and small, put on sackcloth. When the news reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his robe, put on sackcloth, and sat in ashes. And he had the word cried through Nineveh.
By decree of the king and his nobles, neither human nor beast shall taste anything. They shall not graze, they shall not drink water. Let them be covered with sackcloth, human and beast, and cry mightily to God. Let all turn back from their evil ways and from the injustice of which they are guilty. Who knows but that God may turn back and relent, so that we do not perish.
When God saw what they were doing, how they were turning back from their evil ways, God renounced the punishment planned for them and did not carry it out. This displeased Jonah greatly, and he was incensed. He prayed to the Eternal, saying,
Eternal One, isn't it just what I said when I was still in my own country? This is why I fled beforehand to Tarshish. For I know you're a compassionate, gracious God, endlessly patient, abounding in love, renouncing punishment. Take my life then, for I'd rather die than live to see this.
The Eternal One replied,
Is it right that you are angry?
Now Jonah had left the city and found a place east of the city. He made a booth there and sat under it in the shade until he should see what happened to the city. The Eternal God provided a gourd which grew up over Jonah to provide shade for his head and save him from discomfort. Jonah was very happy about the plant. But the next day at dawn, God provided a worm which attacked the plant so that it was withered. And when the sun rose, God provided a scorching east wind. The sun beat down on Jonah's head, and he became faint. He begged for death, saying,
I would rather die than live.
Then God said to Jonah,
Is it right that you are angry about the plant?
I'm so angry, I want to die.
He replied. Then the Eternal said,
You care about the plant, yet you did not work on it nor cultivate it. It appeared overnight and perished overnight. And should I not care about Nineveh, that great city, in which there are more than 120,000 persons who do not yet know their right hand from their left, and also many beasts?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ha'el hane'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayim, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al hanvi'im ve'al yom ha'kippurim hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, limchila ve'lislicha ulchapara, lechavod ultifaret. Al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umvarchim otach, yitbarach shimcha befi kol chai, tamid leolam vaed, udvarcha emet v'kayam lad,
Baruch atah Adonai, melech mochel v'soleach, la'avonotenu v'la'avonot amo beit Yisrael, ומעביר אשמותינו בכל שנה ושנה, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, ויום הכיפורים.
Aleinu. Ours the duty to listen, and ours the duty to praise. Ours is the duty to respond to what we hear, to raise questions, and build houses of study in which to ask them, to praise the Creator for creating, to praise the Creator for rest, to praise the God of Torah for the challenge of Torah, to praise the God of eternity for every hour, every day, to plant and build, to seek peace and pursue it. Ours the duty to do justice, ours the duty to be Israel, to fix the broken, to open doors of hope, to bow before a commanding power that speaks to us from Sinai, from history, from deep within the heart. Hear, O Israel, it is not your duty to complete the work, but you may not turn away.
It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we were free to do. For what's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. We are carrying the stories of the ones who came before. What stories will be told of us when we are here no more? We commit ourselves to action. It brings meaning to our days. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to own the vision. We are an answer to a call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down deeply. There's a broken world to raise. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu l'shabeach. It's time to live our praise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. May your wonder be celebrated. May your name be consecrated. May your brilliance never fade from
is prevail.